Hi, you are watching SightsIn Plus, and this is Romesh Vastu. Please do subscribe the channel for the HR news, for the HR updates and conversation that talk on CHRs. Today, we are going to discuss about the HR transformation in recent couple of years. With the changing times, the business models are changed, the working models are changed. So there are also changes in HR role. To understand better, today we are privileged to have Mr. S.P. Nathan. He is partner at Deloitte in India. Welcome, Mr. Nathan.
Thank you.
Nathan, sir, in last couple of years, we have seen many changes. If you look at 2020 and 2021, so especially during the pandemic period, we have seen a larger role of the HR professionals. And now in 2022, late 2022, the new buzzword that has started is the generative AI. So a lot of technological changes are also there. So in such a changing scenario, how do you see the new mandate for the human resources in 2023 and 2024?
I think at least for the next couple of years, I see the following as very important for all of us. But before I go there, I just want to take a moment to thank you, Rameshji, for bringing me on to spending a little bit of our time and checking on what are the things that we have in store for HR. So what's a new mandate for HR in 2023? I'd say, for starters, we've got to ready ourselves for the AI revolution. If you look at organizations, whether this is Infosys, HCL, Wipro, you name any of the large corporations, they're all going to be spending huge amounts of time, energy, money in looking at how they are going to be readying themselves for the AI revolution. Wipro has very clearly declared that they are going to be spending a lot of energies in this particular sector. So that's one, readying ourselves for the AI revolution. Second is, I see that our ability to connect in a slightly disconnected world is again going to be very important as a mandate for human resources. How do you provide an employee experience in such a backdrop where post-COVID, some people are coming to work, there is hybrid, some people are saying work from home. In some places, it is just not possible for work to be delivered from home. So in any and all of this, how do you provide an employee experience that is very distinct? Organizational change, future of work is again a very important part of the HR mandate. How can we get better at recruiting top-notch talent? This is going to be absolutely crucial for us, very strategic, because the growth of our organizations largely depend on the kind of people that we bring in. Last but not the least is, how do we really build leaders for tomorrow? So I'd say these are some 5 or 6 areas that we got to be looking at for the year 2023, perhaps even 24.
Nathan, sir, you touched upon some very interesting points. You talked about the initiative taken by the IT companies, especially the IT companies in India, and you also talked about the work from office. So, of course, most of the companies, they're trying to have the maximum number of people who are working from the office as of now. But there's also another point that is there's a certain internal factors and there are certain external factors that influence the business and as well they influence the HR role. So since last 1 year, we are in a discussion of the economic slowdown. We are in discussion of global economic uncertainties. Second, there is some political, changes. So political changes, economic pressure, these aspects definitely have some impact on business. And if there's an impact on business, so definitely there will be also the impact in role of HR. So how do you see these factors impacting the role of human resources?
We touched upon a very, very important part of what human resources is currently grappling with. So one is certainly the economic conditions, because if there is, in one part of the world, there is a fear of recession which is happening, the fear that banks may even fail, the fear that that a lot of technological advancements that has been on the anvil is going to suffer a big change, then all of this has an implication for organizations and therefore a big change in our activities in human resources. So what is changing? Work is changing. Everybody knows that the workplace is changing dramatically. What we have to do is ready ourselves for this big change. Fortunately for us, given the Indian rate of growth, we have still been able to manage some of the economic conditions, which otherwise is rather adverse in many of the developed organizations. So there are opportunities, ease of securing jobs is afoot, but the one thing which is missing is the dearth of talent. People who are really the very best that you could find in the country. That is a function of what is happening in the world around us. Post the COVID, one thing that happened was people understood that there is a huge opportunity lying ahead of them. And they also knew that this whole notion of sticking to one organization forever is somewhat suspect. So people have started to look at where is it that I can find a career for myself? How do I move? Don't forget, there's also peer pressure. Peer pressure from outside is also driving attrition. So broadly, if I categorize this, you have economic pressures on one end, you have societal pressures on the other, and third, the need, my personal need for me to find the edge, an opportunity that I can find for myself within. In all of this conundrum, HR is caught up trying to find out what is the silver bullet which can manage all these conflicting demands. So that's what we have. So these are all the various factors that we have today, which is influencing the way that we are looking at what are our top reasons for picking 1, 2, 3, 4 strategies, because this is the one that's going to impact our organizations favorably. And they are the activities that we are on to be.
Now, sir, if we look at the IT companies' first quarter results, so especially some top IT companies in India, so there are three factors are common. One, that is there is a drop in headcounts, there is a drop in their net profit, and drop in attrition. So that is easing up, that is good, but drop in headcount and drop in net profit, that is bothering somehow. So how do you see the financial year 24 in terms of hiring, in terms of the job market, and in terms of the business?
That's a great question, Ramesh. That's a very, very good question. See, at one end, I think there will be temperance. During the time when there was immediately post-COVID, attrition really spiked. Today, people are a little more temperate because of what's happening around. There is a economic tightness that people are experiencing. Organizations which had hired a lot of people from campus are putting on a little bit of the brakes and saying, I don't want to have too many people on the bench. And therefore, how do I optimize my workforce to deliver the kind of projects that I need? If I look at what's happening in the engineering sector, it's again a function of consumption. So whether this is to do with consumption within the country or outside of the country, so people are getting a little more circumspect. Because if the world over is experiencing a certain slowdown, then they are in no tearing hurry to go and import stuff from India. If you look at services sector in India, that is a reasonably stable sector. However, what is happening is, if you're looking at what's happening at the campus level, there is certainly a certain slowdown. Why would they do that? Because if you have a lot of organizations in India which are serving clients which are outside of the country, and if there's a slowdown on the other end, then there is a certain fear that they would have a lot of people on the bench, and therefore they would like to slow down. Of course, I have another theory that this is the best time for India, the best time for all of us, because this is the time when we can ready ourselves. Because when there is an uptick, then we should ready ourselves for the uptake.
Absolutely, sir. It's the best time for India when we talk about the economic growth. We are doing really good as of now. But if we look at the report, so because of this some economic uncertainty, global economic uncertainty, and some impact on the IT companies, there will be 40% impact on campus hiring. So if we trust and report, according to these reports, 40% impact that will be on campus hiring. Now let's move towards the workplace part. There are also certain changes. As of now, we see the multi-generational workforce. Five generations are working together. Most of the millennials, they are into the leadership positions. And if you look at the generation Z, then they're into the entry level and mid-level roles. So how do you see this challenge as an HR leader?
Oh, Rameshji, that's a very interesting question. See, it's not like we didn't have this problem in the past. It was always there. You look at any of these older organizations, I say older organizations, been in the country for over 100 years. At any point in time, you did have at least 5 generations of people at work. So you pick your favorite old organization. Let's say Tata Steel, for example. You mean to say they didn't have this? But I think what happened over a period of time is it got exacerbated in today's context, because largely, if this is a young workforce and having to deal and work with people who are older, and then along the continuum, you are realizing that you got 5 generations of work or people from the workforce, then how do you deal with it? One, my belief is we have to respect what each of these generations bring to us at the workplace. So it starts with what I believe is open communication. So how do we really communicate with each other? Also, make sure they are well represented. I'll give you an example. So if there is an organization where about more than 85% of people are millennials, and if you have a board which runs the organization, then make sure that on that board, you would have at least 1 or 2 of the millennials, because their voice has to be heard. It's a very, very simple way of doing it. Now, I'm not saying that they should be people who have voting rights and all that. I don't want to get into those issues. But I want to say that if you get people who have a seat at the table, then many things happen. So they are represented. A certain respect builds in. Team building happens. And some of these things will have to be done consciously as well. If there's adequate training, and by training I mean people who are at the seat of power or people in very distinct positions, do they understand what it means to work in a multi-generational workforce? Do we have, let's say, processes? Mentoring is one. And I've been a subject matter of reverse mentoring, which means I have a 29-year-old who will teach me a few things about technology and, of course, a few other things that I would keep asking that person. But it makes a lot of sense, because that which I don't understand, I'm in a position to seek help. So you're also sending a subtle message around that, well, leaders are willing to be mentored by people who are far younger. Also, we got to train our leaders how to lead. So if you put all this in the envelope, don't forget, large organizations, small organizations, any type of organizations run on the rails of what you call as policies. Do we have the right policies in place? Do we, for instance, you want to have a good reward and recognition policy. Make sure that it is inclusive. It's not that diversity is a problem, because we have diversity all around, but do you include people in that conversation? And in the deployment of any of these policies, do you make a real effort to ensure that it is represented well? Then you would have a lot of people understanding, yes, this is a multi-generational workforce that is really working together.
Absolutely, sir. Absolutely. Multi-generation workforce is absolutely not at the first time. So, but we see a lot of discussion around the Gen Z employees. Is engaging the Gen Z employees is really a challenge? How do you see, what is your advice, how we can attract them, how we can engage them, how we can retain them?
Um, I'd put it this way. It's not only Gen Z. You got to be looking at the millennials. You got to be looking at people. I think I think you need to have a different strategy to engage people all along the continuum. For instance, what is very particular, very meaningful for people who are Gen Z is about providing meaningful work, giving them a sense of purpose. So they would like to work for organizations which have a very clear stated purpose. And this is beyond making the rupees and cents that they would want to. Do we have work-life integration? Do we have a flexibility? And some organizations may not be in a position to provide full flexibility. But there is a way in which we can tweak around something so that there is a perceived flexibility even in the state where they would feel completely inflexible. Do we look at some of the key pillars of why people stay in organizations? And this is agnostic to any generational levels. People want to learn, people want to grow, people want to engage. And if you look at each one of this, do you provide learning opportunities? Do you provide growth opportunities? Do you provide a certain environment where people are taken off their current jobs and given an opportunity to do something else? Because that is ensuring that beyond experience, you're also looking at exposure. So do you get these people exposed to something else? Not to forget education, which is the really the seat of anything that happens at work. Do we feel that you could recognize them? Do we make sure that you reward them well, get them right and center of everything to do with a certain notion that I feel respected? Do you look at careers? More important, it's not the framework of careers, Rameshji. The most important thing today is a career conversation. Do you have an interest in me? Do I believe that I feel valued? Forget whether I am valued or not, but if you don't give me that feeling that I'm valued, I could vote with my feet. So those are some of the things that we could do. Not to forget, Gen Zs, why Gen Zs? All of us want to work to our strengths. And all along we've been told that this is not what you're good at, this is not what you're good at. I'd like to meet somebody who can say, hey, this is what you're really good at. I think you should do more of this. Do we have an environment which is vibrant, engaging, encouraging, and of course, empowering? So if you put all this together, you will be able to get a very engaged Gen Z workforce.
Right, so right. Currently, we see a lot of discussion around ChatGPT and the generative AI part. These are the most happening topics as of now for the discussion. How do you see the impact of these new technologies and human resources, and how do you see that these are transforming the HR?
Ramesh, that's a fantastic question. I believe that it takes me back in time. I'm very fortunate because I've seen the succession of each of these technologies and what they did to us. One point in time, people were fighting over automation. Today, we are fighting why things must be automated. Then we moved on to a digital world. Why things must be digitized. And digitalization is now central and core to organizations. AI is very important because mundane tasks will be managed easily by generative AI. If you look at, for instance, if you're going to be looking at AI, AI can help you with recruiting. It can help you with screening, with interview process. I have seen tools where people, if they get on to responding to certain tests, with a reasonable accuracy of extending almost 80%, that test could tell you whether this person is suitable for this particular job or not. Recognize that today in organization, we spend an awful lot of time trying to find the best candidate. Imagine if there is an AI tool that helps you along the way. It can cut down time dramatically, both in the screening as well as in the interviewing. Candidate experience, something that many of us worry about, because I'd like to know whether this is personalized. I want to know whether this is something that I can relate to. Is this a response? Is it a response that is immediate? Is it something that will tell me what is happening with me? Feedback is important. That entire candidate experience is so vital for us. Are we doing that? At one point in time, you'll agree, Rameshji, the bot was useful. But today, and of course, it had to be trained. Today, this is one leg up on the bot. Today, it's a lot about the machine learning that happened over a period of time. This one is able to pull a lot of disparate data together and push that in. How nice that is. It is super helpful in engaging communities of people who are in different places right across the country. Technology helps. AI can help you with predictive analytics. It can help you with performance management, perhaps even looking at diversity as it exists in organizations. It can help us with wellness. It can help us with anything where you need data that can help us make decisions. So all major companies are investing a lot of time and energy to just make this whole experience as the fulcrum of progress through AI. So I believe technological changes like Gen AI is going to transform human resources. And I believe that our ability to absorb it, use it, propagate it, and ensure that we use it to the fullest, that's going to make a big change for all of us.
Right, sir. Now I'll take a couple of questions from a book. And I was reading the book, The Heart of Work. And I gone through one chapter. In this chapter, you're talking about a person who was very sure about his promotion. He was expecting the promotion, but somehow you did not find him perfect for that. He resigned from the organization. He joined somewhere else. And he also realized that if somebody is not perfect for the role, if he's matching to 90%, 80%, 85%, then we should go for the promotion. So my question is, as an HR leader, what should be the right policy for the promotion in an organization?
My view is you don't have to wait for 80% or 85%. My view is if a person is fit to the extent of 60%, take a chance. I have taken a lot of chances in my life. It has never been belied. I believe one of the greatest things that have happened to me personally is somebody gave me an opportunity. Somebody pulled me up. It's for each one of us to give a little bit of a hand, a helpful hand, and just help people move along. Of course, you will find 10 reasons why somebody cannot be promoted. But there are at least 20 reasons why you should be promoting somebody. However, in an organization, it's not possible to promote everybody. But what is lacking today is a conversation. If I know that this is what is likely to happen to me over some period of time, it would help. Also, letting people know what is required so that they are able to build those competencies around them, that goes a very long way. I'll give you my personal example, Rameshji. For almost like 8 years, I was doing a very similar role. Nothing was happening to me. I went up to my boss and I asked him, hey, what's happening? I'm not promoted. And he asked me, I still remember, he asked me to come to his house. And when I went to his house, the first thing, without even talking to me, he gave me an envelope. When I opened it, I found that I was getting transferred to a very large assignment. And of course, there was promotions, etc., involved as part of that. And I looked at him in amazement and he says, well, we are like the bamboo shoots. You would take 5 years to draw roots. And when you draw roots which are strong, that's when the bamboo grows almost to the extent of 6-7 inches every week. And before you know what has happened in 4 months, 5 months, you would have shot up some 60 to 80 feet tall. So that's how a bamboo grows. but the bamboo grows because it's drawing its roots. Drawing roots would take almost 5 years. I'm not saying everybody has to wait, but I'm glad you waited. So here is what it can do for you. So on that note, this is for people who feel that they are not getting promoted, as long as they know that they are growing. Our ability to tell our people that this is what is happening with them is a cause of sufferance by individuals who think that they merit to be promoted. And if they don't, in an organization does not promote them, somebody else will. So they take that chance. We would be better off taking chances with our own people than having to lose them to people who are outside.
Yes, sir. Also, I would like to discuss one more chapter here. And in this chapter, you're talking about a hiring part. You are talking about the interview process. And the crux is, don't judge the person by the appearance. You never know in which situation he or she has been into. And you need to follow the process, go through the process, then you decide to take a decision. What is your advice on this when we talk about the interview process?
That's a great segue into something that I personally believe in. Don't judge a book by its cover. And there are several examples in my few years of working in human resources. I can tell you examples replete with people who are outstanding professionals, but owed to certain circumstances. I'll give you a story. So this was one where there was a meeting on a Saturday afternoon. It was a holiday for everybody, but the candidate insisted that they would want to meet me at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So I went over at 3 o'clock. The interview was supposed to be the previous day, but the candidate called up and said, owed to certain familial reasons, so it would be difficult for him, but can we do it the following day at 3 o'clock? So I said, okay, why not? Went to the office. And when the candidate came in, I was a little surprised. The person was disheveled. The person did not have even a pair of shoes and was wearing clothes, which was not what one would expect to go in for an interview. The only thing I kept telling myself was, give me the courage not to judge this person too early. The interview started and it was just fantastic. I can tell you that within 30 minutes, I knew that we had a winner on our hands. The interview went on for almost like an hour. And at the end of it, we shook hands. And as the person was just going to be leaving, he turned around and asked me, would you not care to ask as to why I'm attired this way? So I said, well, I did want to ask you, but why don't you go ahead and explain? He said that he had lost a very, very dear person the previous evening, and he had to get to the cremation ground, and he was coming straight from that place. And he wanted to make sure that he made it to my office on time at 3 o'clock. He didn't have the time to go and get himself properly attired. And my heart really went out for such people who believe that it is far more important to ensure that you respect somebody else's time. And of course, we did hire that person. And it taught me a lot. This was very early in my career. It taught me that while I look at people and want to make sure that the shoes are polished, there are times when the shoes are not polished. There are times when a person is unkempt. There are times when a person perhaps would not have shaved before they come in for an interview. You would have 10 reasons to go and find fault with somebody. Find a reason to quieten the noise in your own head and listen to the person, because they are trying to be the best in that interview. So I have a lot of examples, Rameshji, but this is the one that really stands out. It really taught me a very valuable lesson very early in my career. But thank you for asking.
Now I'll seek your advice for the young HR professionals, how they can excel in their career.
Okay, so thank you. I'll put it this way. Just so I'll say this. One, find a way to redo your resume every 6 months. Look at what you have added to it. Learn something which is relevant and current. expand your skill set. That's vital for you. Take on new projects wherever you are. Take on new projects. Extend your imagination. Extend yourself. Seek opportunities. Find mentors. Make sure that you network, because your network is your net worth. People will be there to help you build a solid network. This will really, really help you a lot. Build a very strong brand for yourself, perhaps even an online presence. That could go a very, very long way. Show potential for leadership. And I'm not saying that you got to be at the top, but if there's a set of work to be done, volunteer for that. There will be some difficult moments. Stay the course. Stay resilient. So this is the advice that I would give to my younger self. But I'm glad you asked it, because I think that they are relevant to me as it was maybe 30 years ago, as it is relevant to people who are here today. But thank you so much for asking, Ramesh.
Thank you so much, Nathan sir, for joining the conversation and sharing the wonderful thoughts. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.